Hi, fellow believers in Christ. I wanted to share a dream that I had a few months ago. It was in 2018. I don't remember exactly when, but it was several months ago. And the reason I didn't share it before is because I'm not 100% sure exactly what it means, but I've been waiting all this time to kind of realize what it means, and I'm still not sure. So I'm just going to go ahead and share it quickly. It was just a scene, basically. It only lasted for a few seconds. I don't remember what happened before or after this scene, but what I saw was this picture is the closest thing I can find on the internet that represents it, and this is actually a famous eagle named Challenger, and it kind of has some elements that were in my dream, but it doesn't in any way look like my dream looked, except well, I'll tell you, it was in a stadium, and I was probably this high in the stadium, but I was in the air, kind of moving in the air, like I was floating from my perspective. Like I couldn't see myself in the dream, but my eyeballs, the perspective of my eyeballs in the dream were like somebody about here floating in the stadium, looking down. And in the center of the stadium were three enormous, gigantic eagles, and they were all in this position, sitting. Okay, they were all sitting just like this eagle is sitting. And there was three of them, and they were facing each other, so they were in a triangular pattern because they were facing each other, and there's three. And they were one of the interesting things about it was they were how big they were. So in my dream, the eagles were at least as tall as going halfway up the stadium, maybe a little taller like that. And I was flying just above them, like my perspective was just above them flying, but I don't think that I was physically flying in the dream. It was just, that was where I could see. And so they were really high, so they were like, I don't know how tall that would be, but that's really, really high. I can't tell you how tall that is, but that's a lot. So high enough to go halfway up this stadium for their heads to reach that tall. But they were all in the center, and there's a flag here. Now, there was no flag in the stadium, and in my dream, the stadium could have been an ancient amphitheater, or it could have been a modern football field. I couldn't really tell, because basically those two things look pretty much the same. But it was like a grassy field in the center. And but it looked, this is another thing, the whole thing was a war zone. I don't remember seeing people sitting in the stadium, but if they were, it was tattered and gray, and everybody had been through war, through hell on earth. And I don't think there was any people in the stadium, but the eagles looked like they had been through a war. And this flag was not on the ground. All three eagles were wrapped in the American flag. So it was, in fact, they were wrapped so well in it that it was almost like it was part of their skin or part of their feathers. And the flag was terribly tattered. At least one of the eagles was a bald eagle like this one, but there could have been an American eagle or two American eagles. But the eagle that turned around and looked over its right shoulder at me, that was definitely a bald eagle. I don't remember if all three eagles were bald eagle, but the other ones, if the other ones weren't bald eagles, they were American eagles, which are the calico colored eagles. Anyway, the flags were wrapped basically from the neck all the way down to almost the tail feathers. And the flags were so enmeshed in the eagles that it almost looked like the flags were part of the eagle's feathers. And they were totally tattered and old and just had been through war. So it was a very dark, bleak, murky scene. Like it was all gray colored, pretty much, except I could tell that was the American flag with red, white, and blue on it. But it was all tattered and just terrible looking. The other interesting thing about this dream was the three eagles were eating dead flesh. And it was obvious to me that it wasn't their first choice of a meal. It was the only meal available to them. So they were eating some sort of carry-on. I have no idea what the flesh was, but it was something big enough that all three eagles could eat it. So it was something really big. And It was some sort of rotten flesh. So it was like not fresh dead, but more like rotten dead. Like that was the only thing they had to eat. So it isn't what an eagle would choose to eat if they had a choice. And all the eagles, this is another interesting thing, all of the eagles had an expression on their face like they saw it coming and they weren't surprised that they had been through war and that they had to eat rotten flesh. They weren't surprised. So I'll have to talk really quickly because I think I only have 10 minutes to make this video. But right now, America is being massively blessed ever since Trump started running for president and when he became president. You could do your own research and find out, but unemployment rates are the lowest in history right now because of President Trump's administration. For Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, and women, and just Americans in general. A lot of the companies that had gone overseas during the Democratic presidential and during the Bush's administrations, they're coming back now, and we're getting jobs again. And he's fixed the deal with NAFTA. He's fixed so many deals. He's refused to supply. He's refused to give the UN our money, and so he's saved money for us by not doing things for the UN being at their beck and call. And all kinds of stuff. There's a massive arrests going on. Tens of thousands of child molesters and all kinds of other criminals are getting arrested now that had free reign to commit their crimes during past administrations. But now during Trump's administrations, they're getting arrested by the tens of thousands. And people that had been flourishing in their criminal organizations for decades are now getting arrested. So America is being massively, massively blessed. And the Obamacare plan, it's still going through the court system, but when it goes up to the highest court and finally gets defeated, then we won't have to pay the Obama penalty anymore on our taxes, and that'll be over. And I'm praying that we actually get a refund for what we already had to pay that was fraudulent. But anyway, hopefully by the next tax season, that'll be abolished. But anyway, America has massive blessings. So this is why I'm not sure what my dream meant, because my dream, you could either see it one way as judgment for America in general. It would be judgment to come, because right now God is massively blessing America. So it isn't now. We're not being judged right now, not like my dream showed. We're actually being blessed massively. So it's either a judgment to come in the future, or those three eagles represented the deep state, which is all of the evil criminals that are engaged in all of these crime rings that have been doing all this damage to our country for decades and decades and decades. And it could have been those three eagles could have represented the deep state that's now caught in the act, and they're having to pay the price, and they saw it coming, and they're not surprised because they know they're criminals. So I'm really not sure what the dream meant. Feel free to leave comments, whatever you think it means. The only thing is, I would argue with anybody who says that it means we're being judged right now, because America's being blessed right now, not judged. But that dream could represent a time in the future when we do get judged. So I don't know if it's the future or the deep state getting judged or something different. But anyway, feel free to leave your comments. But if you say something crazy like you're the Messiah, then I'm going to delete that. Okay. I love you. God bless you.